Friends, it's been said that preaching is truth through personality. Preaching is truth through personality. So today, my personality is teetering, I have to confess, between hope and despair. Last Sunday, when I was visiting with my mom and dad, eating some amazing fried chicken and macaroni and cheese and greens, and pound cake, Eric Courtney Harris was inadvertently shot by a policeman. He was a black man, and when he was being arrested, the policeman thought he was using his taser. But instead of using the taser, he pulled his gun and shot him to death. And the people who were responding to this problem said it's something like slip in mission. I might have that a little bit wrong, but it can happen, they said, when you're in stressful situations and you think you're doing one thing, but you know you do the other. And the proof of this was that the policeman only shot Eric once. If it was intended to shoot him, he'd have tapped him twice, because that's how you do it. So it was a mistake. It was a mistake. On February 15th in Miami Gardens, Florida, a man named Laval Hall, who's a schizophrenic, was really frightening his mom. And so his mom called the cops and said, "Come get my son, I really need your help." And Laval had a broom, and he was wielding the broom, and he was swinging the broom, and he was a little crazy with the broom. But within 3 minutes of the policeman arriving to help, he was dead. Before sunrise on a chilly Sunday morning, Catherine Daniels had called to have someone come help her son, and he was dead. After only being released from a mental health facility for 1 week. Okay, this is not the good news. This is the bad news. This is the despairing news. And to be perfectly honest, were you not horrified by the helicopter filming of the guy on the horse who was on the ground, spread eagle surrendered, and the people were kicking him and hurting him? Something is wrong. And I'm not really saying there's something wrong with police people, because I know some amazing police people. Amazing police people. I'm saying there's something wrong. There's just something wrong, like we're drinking bad water. There's something amiss when our culture is so violent. When I saw the guy in the blue t-shirt being shot in the back by the policeman, it looked to me like something out of Wile E. Coyote. It was so outrageous, it looked like a cartoon, didn't it? Like there's no way you're running and there's a policeman standing in front, not like Starsky and Hutch, where the police are running behind you and jumping over fences and doing a good chase. No, not like SVU, where those guys wrestle them down and put a handcuff on them. No, I'm just going to stand and shoot you like you're a skeet. Something's wrong. Something's wrong, and it breaks my heart. It isn't necessarily new news, but it is true that as good as human beings are capable of being, and we are capable of so much love and so much compassion and so much kindness, that it's also true that throughout time, when bodies make us mad, when we're afraid of the other, when we feel threatened, when we feel like people don't deserve to live those bodies, Semitic bodies, Jewish bodies, Gypsy bodies, Chinese bodies, Japanese bodies, black bodies, trans bodies, gay bodies, female bodies, Nigerian girl bodies, and sometimes white folks' bodies are just disposable. 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 And that's the part of me that is not just despairing, but frankly a little mad. Incredibly disappointed. And sometimes I feel helpless. Do you? About what to do about it. So it's not new news, and that's why we are at Eastertide, because in Jesus' day, the brown body, the despised body, the disposable body was the body of a Messiah, a Christ, the one we came to know as Christ, but who then was a Semitic Jewish rabbi in Roman craziness, in times of empire, where he was rabble-rousing and stirring them up and making them think they could have a better future, and so he had to go. Okay, that's this part of me. The other part of me couldn't wait to get back to this sanctuary, because every single Sunday, when I stand on this pulpit or on that floor or stand at the door and hug these bodies, I am so filled with hope for tomorrow, because you walk by the Chinese church and the black church and the white church and the gay church and the Latino church to come here to be in this place. And that warms me up so much I can hardly breathe. I just want to clap for you. You bring your bodies to this place. You come tired, you come harassed by the subway, you come weary from the week, you come looking for a word, a hope, a something, a sign, a vision, and you come and you bring your bodies to be lifted up and transformed by God so that we can go out in the world and do a good thing. That part makes me delirious with hope. Since I saw you, I was with a bunch of clergy, Jewish clergy, Muslim clergy, Christian clergy, in Sedona, Arizona, which we just have to raise money for all of us to go to Sedona, Arizona. It's like, start today, in about 6 years, we'll be ready to go. We were gathered together by Auburn Theological Seminary, 13 of us, who are the first class of Auburn Fellows. What does this mean? It means that Auburn got a grant to support 13 of us in our ministries, to just say, y'all go. We're going to try to make a difference around the economy. We're going to try to make a difference around the environment. We're going to try to make a difference around race. And we sat together, all of us, Valerie Carr, my friend who's a Sikh. I didn't used to call it sick. I called it seek. But she said it's sick, and it means seeking peace. Valerie Carr brought her little boy named Kavi, and 4 months old, a boy of a Sikh mother and a Muslim father, and just a beautiful baby with deep, dark brown eyes. And she says, I'm in the movement for racial justice, so that my little boy will inherit a world in which his brown body is beloved and cherished. Brian McLaren, do you know Brian McLaren? He's like this big writer guy, like a white 58-year-old guy, a kind of used to be conservative guy, said he's in the movement for racial justice because it makes his stomach hurt at the way black lives don't seem to matter as much as white lives. There was a gay, lesbian rabbi, and there was a straight rabbi, and there were Otis Moss III from Chicago, who can preach his butt off, was there. It was an amazing gathering of multiracial, multicultural, multi-ethnic, different sexual orientations of people pointing toward the same thing, like we do, middle people, pointing toward life, pointing toward justice, believing that God has called us in our unique particularity. In other words, Muslim bodies, Christian bodies, Jewish bodies, female bodies, gay bodies, straight bodies, male and female bodies, all called to pull in the same direction toward a healed and whole world. It was exciting. It was exciting. We had metaphors that we worked with. We were X-Men. Are you guys into X-Men? Okay, I am not. I did not know what they were talking about. I had to turn on my phone and Google. What the heck? I'd never seen one movie. But I have seen Halle Berry look like Storm. What I want to say is I'm straight, But when I see Halle Berry dressed like that, I mean, it just makes you wonder, you know. She- So, we were working with the metaphors of X-Men, saying that in our particular bodies, in our particular mutations, in our particular otherness, each of us had gifts to bring to the movement for justice. And I wanted to be Storm because I want to have Halle Berry's body. I mean, for myself. I want to have her body for myself, my own body. You know what I'm saying? So, and they named me Storm. They named me Storm. Yay! All of us. Otis Moss III gave us all superpower names, and so we played with the metaphor of how we're not quite what we ought to be, but we're not what we used to be, and even though we're not really all that fabulous, God can use these ordinary bodies to work for justice. It was quite exciting. When we got to talking about our gifts and our vulnerability, we had to stop and pause because it is Eastertide at the particular body of Jesus Christ. The particular Semitic body, Mary's boy, Joseph's son, carpenter body, gnarled hands from working on the wood body, splintered hands working, building things body, this particular Semitic body that was then broken. Killed, really, for doing the right thing. And how the Easter narrative, which my Sikh colleague and my Muslim colleagues agree is an important story, that he brings the broken body back on the scene, the particular Semitic broken body back to the scene, first on the road to Emmaus to say, look, hello, let me point it out to you. I'm the one you were waiting for. And the disciples recognize him in the breaking of bread and the sharing of a meal. Then he comes back to the 11 in Luke's gospel and just kind of gets in the midst of them and hangs out with them. And they look and they can't see the particularity of him until he says, look at my hands, look at my feet, it's me. Hello, I'm back. I'm hungry, can I have some fish? A particular broken body, hungry body, thirsty body, Semitic body, comes back to the scene to teach the disciples by example that it's actually all about the body. It's about the body. I mean, it's about the body of Christ. It's about us doing the thing that we are called to do by definition of our faith in the unbelievable sense that life actually trumps death. It's about the body of Christ, absolutely, but it's also about our individual bodies. It is about the grandmother who helps raise 3 children from Ethiopia. It is about the body that dares to transition to be true to itself. It is about the people who use their hands to make the sandwiches, and the people who use their feet to go to the park, and the people who dance down Fifth Avenue in the Pride March. It is about the bodies who sings God's praises so we can find our way into the holiness. It's about the ones who dare to preach and teach and write. It's about the ones who organize communities and say girls matter. It is about the particular body in which you live that God is using to make a difference in the world. All of us have superpowers in these vulnerable, not quite perfect, hurting, wounded, trying to get it right, wrestling with our ethics, struggling to be good enough, sometimes riddled with shame and fear. It is this body, that body, that God will use to make it all right. So we worked with X-Men, and we also worked with the metaphor of clearing, How many of you have read Toni Morrison's book, Beloved? I didn't know anything about X-Men, but I knew about Toni Morrison. And in her epic novel, Beloved, she writes about a character named Baby Suggs, Holy. Baby Suggs is a slave woman whose freedom is bought by her son. She's a character who, in her particular body, her particular broken body, a body that she says walks like a three-legged dog, a body whose legs and back and eyes and hands and kidneys and womb and tongue had been broken under the lash of slavery. So much so that all she had left was to use her heart. So this fictional character is sort of like a Christ figure, a God figure in the book. She becomes an unchurched preacher, and she visits pulpits and opens her heart up, and then she sometimes pulls all the people around her, anyone who would go, into a clearing, into a big wide open space. And the way Toni Morrison writes this, I just can't paraphrase. I just have to share this with you. When warm weather came, Baby Suggs, Holy, followed by every black man and woman and child who could make it through, took her great heart to the clearing, a wide open space, cut deep in the woods, and nobody knew for what, at the end of the path, known only to deer and whoever cleared the land in the first place. In the heat of the Saturday afternoon, she sat in the clearing while the people waited among the trees. After situating herself on a huge flat rock, Baby Suggs bowed her head and prayed silently. The company watched her from the trees. They knew she was ready when she put her stick down, and then she shouted, "Let the children come!" And they ran from the trees toward her. "Let your mothers hear you laugh," she told them, and the woods rang with laughter. The adults looked on and could not help but smile. Then she'd say, "Let the grown men come," and the ground life would shudder under their feet. Finally, she called the women to her. "Cry," she told the women, "for the living and the dead, just cry." And without covering their eyes, the women let loose. It started that way, children laughing, men dancing, women crying, and then it got mixed up. Women stopped crying and danced. The men sat down and cried. The children danced. The women laughed. The children cried until exhausted and riven, all and each lay about the clearing, damp and gasping for breath. In the silence that followed, Baby Suggs, Holy, offered them up her great heart. She didn't tell them to clean up their lives and go and sin no more. She didn't tell them they were blessed of the earth, or they would inherit it, or anything like that. She told them the only grace they could have was the grace they could imagine. That if they could see it, they could have it. She said, here in this place, we're flesh. Flesh that weeps, laughs, flesh that dances on bare feet in grass. Love it. Love your flesh hard, she said. And so, my Sikh and Muslim friends, Sister Simone of Nuns on the Bus, a whole bunch of us struggling in our bodies to find some power, super or not, we made a metaphor of clearing. We hiked in the cold to a clearing. We prayed in a clearing that we would love our flesh. Middle family, we are flesh. We are flesh, and it is about our bodies. We are flesh that weeps and laughs, flesh that dances on bare feet in grass, in basements and in bars, in this sanctuary and down Fifth Avenue. We are particular flesh. Some of us are big-boned and some of us are scrawny. Some of us have the blood of many nations flowing through our veins. Some of us love women and some of us love men. And some of us don't really love anyone, and some of us love both. Some of us have more privilege by the nature of our skin tone and gender, and some of us are oppressed for the same reasons. But we, each of us, are particular It is about our bodies. We are precious and priceless and powerful. We have been set free by a loving God to live lives of joy and abundance. We have been clothed like the disciples with power on high to bring people into clearings, to bring people into clarity with our words and our acts of justice and our prayers and our hugs and our song. We are called to heal what is broken in the world and to create heaven here on earth. This is the Easter message. It's about the body. The particular body of a Semitic man named Yeshua, who was son to Mary and Joseph. And it is about the body of the people who are forever changed by this story of life-crushing death to ground. It's about the particular body of a people who are called by God to boldly do a new thing on the earth, who believe, like we do, that what matters is that we love one another in a radical, unimaginable, stretch-yourself way. We who believe that God includes every human being in God's reign know that we are included in God's plan for wellness and wholeness. We are, each of us, a particular body, a particular human body. And together we make a multiracial, multicultural, multisexual, omnisexual body, a many-gendered body of older folk and children who love the sound of laughter and who are moved to tears by the sound of singing, like we heard today, who hold on to each other during the passing of the peace for dear life because we know we need peace to have life. And so this Easter message, this truth through my personality, both despairing and disgusted and hopeful and filled with joy, is that your particular body matters. Jesus brings his body to the scene, and we have to bring ours. And when we bring our particular bodies, our hearts, our minds, our livers, our spleens, our feet, mine need a pedicure, our hands, your body is needed in the movement for justice. Your particular body, mine allergic, needs to be loved and cherished, held, coddled, hugged, because your flesh is precious flesh. It needs to be exercised with walks and workouts. It needs to be exorcised of the demons that plague us: fear, self-loathing, a sense of unworthiness, because guess what? God made us, and we are not junk. And we are awesome and wonderful in the eyes of our Creator. Our bodies make up the body of Christ. Some of us are hands making sandwiches. Some of us are hands playing the organ. All of us, we flesh, are precious and necessary and beloved. We, flesh, are beloved and needed to do what God is about. That's our Easter message for today. Maybe so.